I just got this back from Chris. Go. I said, do you
there it is.
Do you still call me the Canadian Trendmaster on your phone? Look at the top of the page. Hey everybody, welcome to It's Just Bodybuilding episode 144. We're going to do Instagram questions on this one with Scott McNally, Dusty Hanshaw.
On It's Just the wrong direction.
Yeah, well, see, from my point of view, there you go. Yeah, that's interesting. Okay. Like, share, subscribe, comment.
Ring the bell.
And we're going to start, Instagram question time. Am I the only one with I got quite a few.
I have more. I have some too. We're good, dude. We backed this shit up today. Oh, no thank you, Automotive. Bringer was on. Not bad.
Okay, here's one for you, Dusty.
Shoot.
And Scott. Dusty and Scott. What gave you the confidence to start coaching? And what inspired you to start coaching?
Well, for me, people started asking because I had helped a couple people that are just friends, and went to a show and was just being a friend and hanging out. And then after the show and after them placing really well, people asked, and I knew I didn't really know enough to charge. So I was like, oh, it'd be fun. And I probably trained for about 2 years before I took any money from anyone. Because I was telling people up front, like, this is all I know, and I know there's a ton left to be known. Oh, weird flavors. Interesting. Should I go purple?
Yeah, give it a go.
The green or the blue one, the teal is really good. I haven't tried the purple.
Oh,
yeah.
I haven't
tried
Ultra
Fiesta Mango or Ultra Violet? I feel like a party. I think I'm going to go Fiesta Mango.
It's good.
Okay.
It's a good one.
You know what, Dusty? Fiesta Mango's a daytime drink.
It's a good point.
Right? The violet one, that's an evening.
Yeah, you sip on that when you're just going to calm down for some mushrooms.
Or you sip it off a stripper's ass.
But Scott doesn't get a tattoo on that day. No, sir.
There you go. Okay.
It'll work because the episode 143 they know now.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if they haven't seen that episode, my stripper's ass comment will really seem out of left field.
Yeah,
it's true. Even better.
Wait, what the fuck?
You're the one getting hookers to your room in Australia, so what the hell?
That's not how exactly what happened, but okay.
Or you say that you did not have a hooker in your room in Australia?
You make it sound the way he says it. It's
good.
All right. Anyways,
okay,
Scott, you have to answer now. After
what inspired you to start coaching?
Same thing with me. I had the confidence because it started slowly. You know, I had my own success, and people started asking me questions, and it got to a point where I was investing so much time into helping people for free that I was like, if I'm going to keep doing this, which I love doing, I have to make something for doing it. So, I started charging. But yeah, I guess it's kind of different nowadays because there's people that are just like, hey, I've never done anything, but I want to become a coach. And then they just put it out on Instagram. Like, hey, I'm taking 10 clients. Actually, I did. I took a bunch of clients for free toward the start. So, and before I started charging money to people, I had these little projects that I put out online through this supplement company I was working with. And I said, hey, I'm looking to take 10 clients on, and we're going to do a blog. I'm going to explain how we're dieting them along the way. And I got paid to do that too, because it was kind of like an educational thing. It kept people coming back to the website. And then we posted the pictures all along. But I tried to pick 10 different people, like very different body types, so I could try to, get more experience. And it was after that I did that a couple, 2-3 times, and I was like, yeah, I want to start charging for this now. So
that's cool. It's like, seems to be the same story with all of us. I had a friend ask me to help him with a body transformation. Do you remember the EAS body transformation contest. Yeah, like that's what he wanted to do. So it was like, would have been 1999. And he asked me to help him. So I helped him, and he looked incredible. Like he fucking transformed. And he sent his photos in, and they messaged him back, and they were like, your photos are killer. The only thing is, when he sent his after photos in, they were like very bodybuilder. Like he was wearing posing trunks and he was posing. Mm-hmm. And they were like, we're looking for, the kind of the dad holding like with the swim shorts, holding the newspaper, like your photos, you made it to like whatever level of screening and all that stuff. So he did good. He looked fucking awesome. And then I helped a guy for Masters Nationals. He was actually my second client ever.
Masters Nationals, second client.
Yeah. Right. He just asked me to help him, and I said, okay, I'll help you. And he wound up like transforming. Like he looked so much better at the Nationals that year, and he got second. And and then just guys at the gym just started asking me to help them for shows, and it just went really well. A couple guys won won regionals and local shows like overalls and stuff, and then people just kept asking. And so it's been a lot of fun, but it was just an evolution. I sort of got sucked into it. I didn't really mean to. I didn't like ever at any point think, I'm going to be a coach. And then I think I was at the point where I probably had like I was like full-time clients, and I still was like, I don't know if I even want to be a coach. Like, like it wasn't like I set out. Yeah. Like I didn't ever set out to do it. It was never a thing. I want to be a coach. Like it was never like that. It just happened. So, but I still, I love getting people in shape for shows. It's awesome. It's still so fun,
Yeah. I'm actually surprised, Scott, when I'm in Canada, or is the people that live there don't work with Ron. And the reason I say that is I've been to enough shows in Canada that it's comical that I can pick his clients out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, you helped this one? And he's like, oh, yeah, I did. And I'm like, yeah, because they're fucking shredded. Like, it's literally, and because he won't say this, but it's funny. Ron also on the regular takes like 2 clients into a show and then wins both of those overalls and leaves. And I'm like, you got this guy over here with 76 clients. I'm like, I would go to the guy who comes in with 1 and wins. Like, I want to go do
some people. It's such a different thing now. A lot of people, want. I'm just not a spreadsheet guy. I'm not going to get any spreadsheets.
You guys, what? Both of you guys are very humble too about your coaching. Because, a lot of people, they're out there and they're like, I'm the best and I'm the master shredder or what, they come up with their names. Right. Yeah, I know neither of you guys really do that, but the people I see you work with both do you guys really both do a very, very good job.
Well, Chris Aceto, when we message, he literally calls me the Canadian Tren master. And I'm even programmed into his phone as the Canadian Tren master. It doesn't have, I don't think it says Ron.
Why didn't I know
showed me
this?
A screenshot.
Why did I not
know
this?
He showed me a screenshot
That's amazing.
Once. I was calling him and he took a screenshot of his phone and sent it to me, and it says Canadian Tren master.
So you'll love this, Ron. So my friend Daniel turned pro last year and Masters, and he's decided he wants to do like 2 shows, but like back to back, and then be done. He just wants to do shows as a bodybuilder, as a pro, and be done. So he reached out and he's talking to me about getting ready for shows, and he keeps mentioning them, and I was kind of like waiting. And then he finally was like, all right, I'm ready to compete. I was like, well, you think you should just work with Aceto? And I get this, is that an option? I'm like, well, if I ask him, it's an option. So he's like, of course I want to work with Aceto. So I send Chris, I said, hey, I got a guy that's a friend of mine that won't waste your time. Will you take him on for these 2 shows? His answer back was, will he eat a potato even if he doesn't want to? And I just lost it because I'm like, this is how Chris talks. Because everyone comes to him and they tell him this whole, I'll do anything, whatever it takes. I bleed for this sport. And then he's like, I have 8-ounce potato. Like, can I have rice? He's like,
will he eat a potato?
Even if he doesn't want to.
That's the line. Like Chris is so down to like that is the filter. I'm really sorry if
so I sent it to Daniel, a screenshot I sent to him. He goes, I'd eat that fucking thing rotten if he asked.
Will he eat a potato? Can I have rice?
That was it. I'm like, and only people who know Chris well understand that is, and there was no like back and forth first, because I don't do that whole like, you know, when people like want to borrow money from me, they're like, hey Ron, how's it going? How's Emily? How's the dog? Gym going good? And then they go, can I have $10,000? I just hit you. I'm like, can you help my friend? Or can I borrow 10 grand? Like, we don't need to do the bullshit. Let's go. So yeah, that was his answer back with no other words. Will he eat a potato even if he doesn't want to?
I just got this back from Chris. Go. I said, do you still call me the Canadian Trendmaster on your phone? Look at the top of the page.
And there it is. Oh, that's classic. Good shit. Okay,
he's one of my favorite people in the sport, and I'll be honest.
Absolutely.
When you said like you didn't really want to be a coach, Ron, I kind of did, and part of it was looking at guys like Chris. To me, that was fascinating, and I wanted to kind of do something of my own, like a guy like Chris Aceto. So yeah, it was something I wanted to do.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, you keep getting clients, and your clients look good, man. Both your guys' clients look awesome. Every time either one of you puts anybody up, I'm like, oh yeah, look at the legs. Like the legs are always shredded, you know?
All right.
That's one question.
I got a solid question for you guys. This is one of my great clients, Mark. If you was a giraffe, where would you wear the bow tie? Top or bottom?
Look at Ron's face. He's thinking.
I'm thinking.
There's reasons for both.
Well, the bow tie would go on the shirt, and the shirt would end at the shoulders.
Yeah,
that's a valid point.
Right?
See,
unless it's like a Chippendale giraffe and it doesn't have a shirt, but if it's wearing a bow tie and no shirt, that's a different story. Now we're talking about a stripper giraffe.
It's a valid point. Does he just have cufflinks and the bow tie? Or what do we got going on here?
I assume there's also a jacket and a shirt, and then that would mean it would end at the shoulders, so it would be at the bottom of the neck.
Right. I feel
it'd be up a few inches. You'd have a collar, you know.
Yeah.
It'd be,
I think that's the right
most
answer.
Of the neck. Most of the neck is up top.
I feel like that's the right answer. I feel like now that you've presented it that way, I couldn't see it any other way.
Yeah, you can't argue it any other way.
No.
Unless Scott's giraffe is absolutely a stripper.
Yeah.
Right.
It's the only way.
Yeah.
Scott's like, well, mine's a Chippendale for sure. And there we go.
Times are tough. He's making good money in a rough economy.
Oh, God. Okay. That's good stuff.
That was a good one. Did you see that? I love the Amber Heard OnlyFans memes.
Oh, God. I didn't see them.
It's just funny. Like, shows like the CEO of OnlyFans sitting with his hand around her. He's like, you'll be all right.
It's going to be fine.
It's going to be fine.
Oh, that's good shit.
Okay. Biggest pet peeve from clients. Is it late check-ins, bad pictures, making, like, what would it be? Typical.
Well, I mean, the things you just said are valid, but I don't let them falling short on their goals affect me. Like, my good clients are not late on check-ins, and they fill their shit in and they do it right. So I don't worry about that. I can't be more connected to their goals than them. I would say, and this is a soft one because I'm not hammering the clients to do this, but if I could make a suggestion to make their life easier, stop thinking. Like, I have so many clients that you could feel the engine start running as they get closer to the show, and the mind is turning and they're starting to think way too much. You know, I get the week out in advance. What's going to happen for next week? What's the plan? I'm thinking I'm a little flat, and a lot of thinking. And the thinking usually starts to happen when they're hungry.
Yeah.
You know, because they're worried and really they're hoping that they're going to convince you of something. I try my best to just tell them, if you can just trust that I will get you where you want to do, all I need you to worry about is the process. Every day, execute the day, leave all the worrying to me, which I don't worry at all, and you'll be fine. So that's, and again, I hate to use the word pet peeve because in the beginning, I think everyone is that way, unless you're me and you hire Chris Aceto and you literally like fall asleep. You know,
Right.
when I first hired Chris, I just knew he knew so much more than me that I didn't even think. It was just, okay. You know, I think every athlete would be better if they could take that stance and literally take any emotion out.
Yeah.
I guess that's the word, emotion. I think when you're tired, you get emotional. And there's really no room for emotion in getting ready for a show.
Yeah.
Or in life in general. Oh, sorry.
Most of what you think is happening is actually just happening in your brain. Like, oh, I'm flatter. Oh, I'm losing muscle. Oh, I'm this, I'm that. You know what I mean? I need to eat. My metabolism is slowing down. I can feel it.
Yeah.
I hear people say stuff like that. Oh, you know, I know I'm like, my metabolism is getting slower. I can feel it. I'm like, what do you mean you can feel it? Well, I just feel it. I'm like, that's, what do you mean?
Very deep.
An energy that the universe sends you. Yeah.
You're a Gemini,
like,
aren't
no,
you?
you're not.
Never mind.
You're on 25 micrograms of Cytomel. You're not slowing down. You're fine. So yeah, stuff like that.
There was one person who actually said that they physiologically needed a cheat meal.
Right.
That's
just trying to use
frustrating.
big words I won't understand.
That's frustrating.
You know? I have a client. How's this, Dusty? I have a client. He has to be 180 to make his classic cutoff.
Mm-hmm.
He pulled me aside at 24 weeks out and said, hey, would you prep me? And I said, sure, I'd love to prep you. How much do you have to weigh? And he goes, I have to be 180. And I go, what are you now? And he goes, 235. And I was like, that's a little big for 180.
Yeah.
Oh, what? I mean, how much fat was he? Was he pretty?
Well,
solid?
he was clean and he was pretty chunky and smooth. Like he didn't have abs, but he was big. He like had a lot of muscle on him and big quads and stuff. Great
Right.
physique. He's actually a classic pro. And I was like, man, you got fucking like, he's big and like pretty off season. He's just been on straight diet from 24 weeks out to, I guess he's 5 weeks out now. So,
Oh, you showed me him.
yeah. And
Yeah.
he hasn't had a single high day or a single cheat meal. And he's just been losing like 3 pounds a week. Bang, 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 like non-fucking stop. Just every single set of pictures get better and better and better and better and better. He sends pictures like every second day and they're better. Like he's
That's
fine.
what's fun.
You know? But this whole, I need a high day. If I don't have like a pizza, like my body's going to come to a halt. It's like this dude's been on like 20 weeks of deficit, but his body's just flying because he had a lot of body fat to burn. You
Right.
just, you know what I mean?
Yep.
You know, I mean, he's getting close to needing a high day now after dropping like 45 pounds. He's like finally needing,
Right.
probably getting close, you know, it's funny. But yeah, you
That's
got to be lean to have that stuff. If your glutes aren't coming in and you're not real lean, those high days don't. I think that's the problem is people have all these high days and they're not anywhere near ready to have high days. Like I think of all the years I worked with Aceto where the first half of the diet was nothing.
Yeah.
It was just worse. It just got worse, you know? And then next thing you know, you're 8 weeks out and you look pretty damn good. And all of a sudden the high days start coming. Bang, bang. And then every time you have one, it's like you get leaner. Bang, bang, bang. And it's just, you got to be patient. You got to dig yourself into that big, you know, where you get all that weight off early. You know, you got to run for it. Try to get ahead, you know? And people have this sort of like, they're afraid to shrink, afraid to lose muscle. It's not as common as you think.
Agreed. Yeah, I think you can definitely. The only thing I have done, and I've actually done this in reverse, and I don't know if you guys ever have. I've given someone a day they didn't need because I knew it would be good for their brain, and we had time.
Yeah. I can see that.
Right. That's a thing. Sometimes when you have time now, you can like manage other things like their mental state.
Yeah.
Like there's sometimes like
that.
you don't have time.
No. A lot of times you don't. But there are times where I'm like, you know what? I'll literally look and I'm like, because I can feel, it's like in sports, like you remember in football, you can hear the footsteps and someone's coming to level you. I can feel them about to get leveled and I'm like, oh, here, we'll just toss them a cheeseburger. And it won't do shit to hurt us.
Right.
But it'll help them mentally. And I'll usually at that point preface like, hey, it's going to be a minute. We got a ways to go, but we could do this now. Your body needed it.
Right.
It's like what I mean by body is your brain is attached to it. So,
right. Yeah. Yeah. Managing the brain is a huge part of it. Yeah. That's there's definitely both sides to that. So, okay. I got another one. Best tips for, that could be two things on how he worded it. I'll skip that one and go back to, here's one for you. If you have to give up one forever, hats or chucks?
Fuck. This person's an asshole. Is it all hats?
All hats. Never wear a hat again or never wear chucks again.
You could switch to Crocs. They're really comfortable.
Fuck you.
I've gotten so many memes.
I'm going to shock some people. I'm going to keep my hat because, as much as I'm reluctant to say this, Vans are very comfortable.
Yeah, there's always other like similar shoes, but it's not.
Vans are a great shoe. I just, as an old man, and I know Vans have been around, but Vans are like the new school Chucks for kids now. Like the cool kids are wearing Vans, and I'm not cool, so I stick with Chucks. So there you go. Okay, how about you, Ron?
Yeah, I can't give up hats. I've always been a ball cap guy, like since high school. I always wore ball cap, like all the time. It's just, I don't know. It's my little thing. Yeah. It wasn't like I started wearing one like when I got older and like my hairline started receding or anything. If anything, I probably melted my head.
Caused it.
Yeah.
Wearing a hat. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Melted my fucking head. Here's one. I have a couple of these. I don't know if you guys do. Do you guys have any stories of meeting or interacting with any pro wrestlers?
Huh.
No. Not like interaction. Like I met The Rock, but everybody that's been a bodybuilder's met The Rock. So that doesn't, it's like, hey, what's up to you? I didn't even take a picture. I didn't care. But yeah, go. What are yours?
Well, I have a few, but I didn't know if you guys maybe did.
You can do one for each of us.
Yeah.
I thought maybe Scott would because he's in Detroit, and like there was like a lot of wrestling around there for a long time.
Yeah, no, I
never saw Hulk Hogan at Powerhouse or anything.
I wish, man. I loved Hulk Hogan when I was a kid. He was a badass.
Yeah.
No, I don't have any stories like that.
I'm from Alberta, and that's where Calgary is. And Calgary is like the epicenter of, wrestling in the 70s and 80s and even into the 90s for a lot of the world. A lot of the Hart family came out of Calgary, and their training facility was there, the Dungeon, and Stu Hart, the dad, trained all the Hart brothers and all the Hart boys and all the other wrestlers that would come to Calgary to train at the Dungeon and learn the craft and all that stuff. So like Bret the Hitman Hart and, Chris Benoit and like so many guys came out of that area. So like I have friends that went to high school with like Chris Benoit and like, stuff like that, crazy stories. But the first real famous pro I met was Roddy Piper. And that was at Gold's. And that was at Gold's Venice. And I was there working out by myself when I was like 20. And I went to use a preacher curl, I remember. And he came over at the same time. And I was like, oh, are you going to use this? And he goes, well, we could work in. But he had his hood up, like, and I couldn't see his face.
Yeah.
And he was kind of limping. He looked like a banged up old guy, right? Mm-hmm. And he goes, oh, we can work in or whatever. And I was like, okay. And he did a set, and then I did a set. And then he said something to me, and it was his voice. I remember thinking like, wait a minute. And I was trying to look at his face because like it was like he was looking down, and then like I finally saw his face. I was like, oh shit. And then I was like, after we were done doing preacher curls, I was like, hey, you're like Rowdy Piper. And he's like, oh, hey man. And then I said I was from Canada, and he was like super cool, took a photo with me and talked to me for a bunch. So yeah, it was pretty cool.
That's
I was
a good
like,
story.
I remember being like, kind of like, oh fuck, at how much he was limping. Like he was like limping around the gym, like he was banged up.
Yeah.
It was noticeable. Yeah. Those guys take a beating.
Yeah.
I got to ask you, Ron, have you ever noticed how many great people you've met around a preacher bench?
Yeah, it's funny, eh? Around a preacher club bench. Greg Titus,
like,
Rowdy Piper. Well, maybe it's just
that's
because
where you go meet dudes. It's like Tinder kind of.
It's statistically a very popular piece for all the dudes, right? Everyone wants to use a preacher curl. You know, you're not going to meet
there's multiple
by the
benches, so that's not a problem. They're not going to.
Yeah. You don't meet a lot of famous people at the adductor machine. It's not like, oh yeah, you know, I made friends with Macho Man at the adductor machine. You're not going to say that, right? Like I met the Ultimate Warrior at the single hamstring curl.
Yeah.
You just don't hear it. It's like, no, it's not where you meet the Ultimate Warrior. You meet him at the fucking, the bench press or the squat rack or something like that.
Every time I think of like a standing leg curl, I can actually I can actually hear Bennett talk about let's take a lying leg curl and make it a worse piece of equipment by putting it vertical.
Yeah.
So anytime somebody mentions that, and I still use them because it's like it's something else to do, but it does make me
I like
laugh.
the mechanics.
His accuracy is so true, but it's so funny.
So I'm going to go on a little rant. One of the leg pieces that I hate the most is the one that Joe Bennett calls the poopy press, which is that like, well, hammer strength makes it, and they call it a hack squat, but it's not.
Oh God,
like a normal hack squat.
That's not a good machine.
It's the hip one that you're sitting in, and it's kind of at an angle, and you hold onto the handles.
Yeah,
I fucking hate. What a useless piece of shit that is.
Yeah,
it's a joke. Get rid of it. If you're using it, it's a huge waste of time. You're limited by what your hands can hold. You're so unstable.
Unless you're doing calves. You can do calves.
Yeah, you do calves on it, but then it's dangerous because there's no safety catch for calves.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, anyways, I hate that piece.
It sucks. It's terrible.
Yeah, it sucks. Yeah, just get a hack squat. Get it, or a belt squat or something.
But
or a
you're
leg
right.
press.
It must say hack squat on it, because I have clients who send me that.
Yeah, hammer strength.
Like,
I think that's what they call it.
That's a piece
not
of shit.
Hack.
That's not a hack.
Yeah, that's the poopy press.
Yeah, they should actually label it that way now. If you would like to get this used poopy press for $27.95,
used poopy press for sale, $2,200. Come and get it. Anyways, I just don't like that piece. That's just me.
It's terrible. Yeah,
it's just him and everyone else that knows what they're talking about.
I mean, essentially, you're kind of leg pressing, but you're just in a way weaker, less stable spot that you could slide out of the seat if you had like 1,000 pounds on you. You know,
there's no way that makes sense.
Yeah,
none.
I mean, a leg press is far superior, a million times more secure and stable and locked in. And anyways, you know what I'm saying.
It was like a good PSA for the show. I like that. That was good.
Yeah,
I didn't feel like that was a rant though. There wasn't enough anger. Do you want to get angry about it, or are we good? Okay, we'll skip.
Well, I leave the real angry rant to you. I try not to come across too angry, but
Dusty's
you usually kind of borderline lose it every episode for just a second. And then he kind of
reel back in.
Yeah, no, but me and Scott just let him go. We don't have to say anything or try to guide him. He usually sort of reels it in himself.
He knows.
Pretty good. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Any old school, non-conventional exercises that you think are still worth doing? Is there anything like old and weird that you still like that you don't see people do anymore?
You do Jeffersons.
You ever done Jeffersons?
Great movement.
Never. Really?
Bitch,
do you just alternate? Do you do like 10 one side, 10 the other?
But I don't do it immediately. Same way I do any of my other unilateral work. I do one, then I'll take a full break and do the other. So like if I was training with you, Ron, and we were doing like even a heavy dumbbell row, I'd do my right arm, you would do yours, and then I'd go to the other one.
Yeah, that's what I do too.
Yeah, that's not what I do.
that.
I just take like a 30
fucking
second
crack.
break and then do the other arm.
That's why your one side is so much less stellar.
I alternate. And I alternate.
Shit.
I alternate if I have if I'm equal, then I just alternate every set. So this set I'll do left right, next set I'll do right left. But if I have
That
one
makes
side
even
that's
less
stronger,
sense. Now you've given, if you do left right and then the next set you do right left, you've had even less rest for your right arm that went last.
yeah, but then the next time you do anything one arm, you flip it. It all comes out in the wash.
Oh, you mean next time? I thought you meant like the very next set.
No, like it all comes out in the wash. As long as you vary it all the time, you're good. But if I have like say a one bicep that needed to be bigger, I would always do that one first.
Yeah. I start with my left bicep because it's stronger. And then I try to keep up with that on my right arm. And this is interesting, probably stupid, but it's what I always did. It was strong enough that it'd be like 3 extra reps. So I would say if I was doing like unilateral hammer preacher curl, I would do the left one and say I got 17 and I failed at 14 with the right. I'd put it down and take a second, then pick it back up and do 3.
Yeah.
Like, okay,
I do
good.
stuff like that all the time. Yes,
I still did
exactly.
17. Yeah. And we only
for
post
sure.
the left arm on Instagram because I'm strong.
Yeah, no, I do that same sort of stuff all the time. Or you just go to like the failure rep on the strong arm, and then you do the other arm, and you force reps all the way to the number.
Yep.
Yeah, just like just throw everything at it, fucking kill it.
Okay. Kiss and sink. Yep.
Thank you for tuning in to another podcast here at Think Big Bodybuilding Media. If we've provided value to you today, then please consider contributing to our show. You can help support the show through Patreon. Every $5 helps to pay for the software and the hardware and everything else that goes into making a podcast. You can also contribute by using our code at True Nutrition. True Nutrition has been our title sponsor for several years now. I'm super grateful for them. And I've believed in True Nutrition supplements long before they sponsored our programming. You could use our code THINK for health supplements and performance supplements. Feel free to hit me up if you have any questions. And if you're in Canada, check out supplementsource.ca. They have free shipping over $99, huge discounts on overstocked, short-dated, and label-changed products. Plus, they have all your normal supplements too. Thank you guys for listening to the commercial. I hope you're having a great day and that your bodybuilding is going well. Let's get back to the show.
You know what I mean?
Is it possible to truly add muscle while in a deficit?
Well, yeah, but there's
add drugs. But if you don't do that,
well, it depends on what you were doing. So, like, if you just started training and you just dropped into a slight deficit, then yeah, you're going to be able to add muscle for a while. There's that like period of time, you know. So there's all these other things that affect that. Like, what have you been doing? Are you, have you been training hard the whole time? What were you eating before you all of a sudden went into this deficit? So it depends on what you how you set your body up for that. Of course, drugs are, first time someone does drugs ever, if it's a contest preps, a lot of times their weight doesn't even change. Yeah. Like I've had guys where they're like, they do their first cycle, and they'll start their prep at like 215 and fucking compete at 205, like barely drop weight, so it happens.
I do that at almost every prep to the end of the career, but truthfully it was because my off seasons were next to nothing.
Yeah, and you were getting lighter and lighter.
And then as I got closer to the show, then the drugs were going up.
Yeah.
So, Chris I literally have texts that would make me laugh because he'd say, "You're great at getting shredded. You suck at losing weight."
Yeah.
Because I would hit a point like before, probably my best look, I was 270 on stage, but I want to say 7 weeks out, I was 260.
No kidding.
And then it just started climbing. But it was because, again, we didn't use a bunch that off season. Chris I worked with him year round and he would just be like, "Oh, I'll do this." And I remember that prep, I want to say we were like 12 weeks out. And I was like, "Hey, I'm just on test." And he was like, "Oh, well, throw some Astron and Tren in there, and we'll go from there." Like, so it was literally like we just kind of added it in because I was like, "Hey, I still haven't started any cycle yet." And he's like, "Oh, I guess we should do that then." But I did
Plus
find
the last-
that growth did that for me.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
I would do 4 IUs, and one contest I went up to 8 by the end a day, and the scale was definitely going up. But I will argue with anyone it was worth it. I was round, and I'm the least round white dude you've ever seen in your life. And I was like, holy shit, there's almost another dimension. Not quite, but almost.
Right.
I'm 2.2D, not 3.
Oh, you had some 3D, buddy.
What else we got?
Let's see. I don't know if people, you haven't posted a picture of your back for a while. You got to throw up a Throwback Thursday
Still
back
there.
double bicep one of these days.
I actually looked at it yesterday. I was like, fuck, it's still there. That's cool.
Well, I'm sure it's not going anywhere.
Oh, there we go. Oh, these are always interesting questions to me, so I'd like your guys' answer because they're different things. EAA or WPI post-workout, is one better than the other?
Well, I mean, if I could only pick one, I'd have a shake post-workout as opposed to just having EAA. I would have a shake. There's, I like the thing with EAA is very, very short in the bloodstream. Whey protein is longer than EAA, but not as long as steak. There's all these different releases. So I would probably go with the whey protein post-workout. It's closer to food.
Yeah.
It's definitely going to be more satisfying if you're going to call it a meal or not eat for a while. I don't know exactly what they mean by what's the follow-up meal to that. Are they running home to have a giant meal, or is this considered their post-workout nutrition? Is this like a worst case scenario story where I'm being forced to pick one or the other with no other options? So,
Converse or hat, dick.
yeah, right. If you just have one, I would have whey protein,
Yeah, I was gonna say the only thing that I do with that, and we covered this a couple episodes ago, was after big body parts, I can't eat or drink much of anything like back or legs, so I can knock down 20 grams of EAAs, and then in 30 minutes I'm ready to eat. My stomach's kind of settled down, so I'll do that literally at the gym. Just drink that on the way home, shower, whatever, and then eat a meal, and I'm good to go. Sometimes the shakes, even though they're light, fuck me up when I'm nauseous.
There's this one question. It's best tips for flawless peaking, right? But when I first read it, I thought it said flawless packing. And I thought it was like a travel advice question.
Oh, I got you.
And I was actually far more excited
Yeah, absolutely.
to give travel
talk
advice.
about that. I want to hear now. So let's get some.
Do you ever see those Instagram posts where it's someone folding a shirt in the most flawless, speedy way ever, using like a piece of cardboard?
Yeah, those little boards.
oh, yeah.
I'm like,
Boom, boom, boom.
I always wonder, does that work in my size? Because
Yeah.
You ever
Just
you ever roll your
little bit
clothes up
bigger.
in the suitcase?
I've seen people do that.
No,
I tried to do that. It didn't work for me. It
Okay.
didn't work. I didn't have the success. Did it work?
Yeah, it worked for me. I've adopted the rolling method for my suitcase. Now, yeah.
Interesting.
You take the
You
t-shirt,
roll it, like,
fold it in
tight,
half.
or-
Yeah, you roll it tight, and before you know it, you've got 6 t-shirts in what would have been 3 or 4 folded area.
What do you do? Do you have drawers that you put your t-shirts in, or do you hang your t-shirts at home?
Drawers for t-shirts. Yeah.
I hang them color coded, so that's the problem.
I don't
fold
have
anything.
enough. I don't have enough space. We have 2 closets, and I have a lot of hoodies. So they're all. It's like all hoodie. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a really nice West Coast Iron hoodie that's like super nice, and it's too fucking hot. And I haven't got to wear it yet. But anyways, sorry, I'm still a little burnt about that.
I remember when I talked to Jay at the LA Fit, he said something about traveling and he goes, "Oh, you're traveling a lot again, eh?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he goes, "It's funny how some people think it's so hard." And I go, "Yeah." I go, "I know what you mean." People say stuff to me like, "Oh man, it's such a big deal." And he's like, "It's just nothing." He's like, I could pack in 5 minutes. He's like, I could just go. It's so easy.
The more you travel too, the more the easier it gets, you know?
Yeah. Jay's like, I don't even think when I pack, it just happens. It's just instant. Like just nothing.
Do you see I put up on the last trip when we went to LA? I'm going through security at the airport, and I realized how stressful this process is to everyone but me.
Huh.
Like I'm watching couples. I'm like, you guys must hate each other by the time you're done with this process. They're yelling at each other, take your fucking shoes off. And I'm like, whoa. And then you got other people that act like they've never done it before, and you know they.
I'm like asleep. I'm like walking through security at 7 a.m. Every time I travel, I'm just like so chill, not a worry in the world. Yeah.
Yeah, it's baffling. I commented. I was like, I can't believe that people who travel together. Like I said, watching people go through the TSA makes me realize that competing against most people in this world is easy because they're so fucking dumb. It was painful to watch. It's like, okay, take everything out of your pockets, and then they go through and it beeps on them, and there's like, oh, do you have something in your pocket? Yeah, I have $76 in change. I'm like, do you have a drink? Oh, I referred to that as a refreshment. I didn't realize it was the same. It's fucking liquid.
Some people are very unaware of what they're doing or how slow they are. Yeah.
I actually did do that once, though, Ron. I went through and I had forgotten I had used my carry-on bag to like use in this town, and I threw all my shit in there, my computer and stuff, and I go through and the guy pulls it, and the guy goes, "You got a knife?" And I'm like, "Ooh, what?" He goes, "You got a knife?" I'm like, "No, I don't." He goes, "Yeah, you do." He pulls out a fucking steak knife, and I'm like, "Ah, I guess now you got a knife." He goes, "Yeah, I do." And I guess that was pre-current age. So it wasn't a big deal. But I was like, fuck, I had a giant steak knife in my bag. Shocked that didn't happen.
It happens. I mean, sometimes you get someone who's not an idiot, right? So they look at you and they're like, oh, it's just a bodybuilder who left a steak knife in his bag. Like, if you were a weird little businessman, like dressed as a businessman, you were acting super strange, and you also had a book called How to Kill People with a Steak Knife, then you might have thought a little worse to that situation. Scott's reaching for a bag.
I got this bag. This is just my travel backpack. So this is like my carry-on. It's got the zipper pocket for your laptop. Got my keyboard in here and stuff. But before I got my range duffel bag, this is what I would put my ammo and stuff in and my guns for 8 months. And I'm afraid to go to the airport now with this thing because they're gonna swab it and they're gonna it's gonna light up. I guarantee you that I've got residue on my hands and it's all over my clothes. Like I'm gonna get fucked next time I go to the airport. They're gonna just put a swab on me and think I'm a bomb.
I had a friend of mine.
Yeah.
I had a friend of mine who got pulled and swabbed, and he had just shot that day.
Yeah.
And he got pulled and swabbed, but he had videos on his phone of him shooting. He's like, "Oh no, look, we were just shooting," and he had videos, and they looked, and they I remember him telling me about that. I'm trying to remember if he was coming or going from somewhere, but yeah, they get the odd person, and then there's also military guys that are flying home civilian.
Yeah.
And they'll set it off sometimes. So
that's interesting.
I don't know. Yeah. Or their bags. I think
the closest I would ever have to that is back in the day, some of my lotions I've heard.
Yeah.
Possibly do that. That's just man shit. It's fine.
Yeah.
Look at Ronnie.
Gunpowder in your lotions. Yeah. Maybe we have a listener that can further educate us on it.
There was actually a time, but it wasn't actually for guys, but it was an issue. I guess Victoria's Secret had some lotions that for whatever reason, there was something in them that could be an issue when they were swabbing hands.
I've seen that happen before.
A bunch of complete, my mom gets tapped at the airport and she's like, "No, it's Cucumber Delight. It's fine."
I do laugh at how often I walk through the scanner and there's a big yellow square on my junk.
Oh,
I've had my nuts patted down a bunch of times. And I'm like, what the fuck is... I mean, I always wear 1 or 2 pairs of track pants because you got lots of
balls of steel, my friend. Balls of steel.
Setting off, yeah. Got some kind of implant in there or something.
Yeah, bodybuilders do set it off. I mean,
yeah, I immediately walk out and just go like this, like arms straight out to the side. I'm like, it'll get me.
Yeah, yeah.
And it always does. Yeah. I've never not gotten nabbed going through that thing.
Was that like a humble brag from Ron there?
No, I think
no, because he was saying he had artificial balls. Like,
yeah.
No, I think it's probably more of a case of like all of the maybe like the poisonous metals from the underground gear we've taken. It winds up in our testicles.
Fucking
settles in our testicles, and they all go off on airport scans for some fucking reason. You know,
I just noticed that he said the size of the yellow thing. Mine is much smaller. The yellow,
like the radioactive
triangle
glow.
of mine is very
the radioactive glow of the nuts.
That's good shit.
Yeah, it is. It is. Okay.
Vegan. Oh, this is a good one. Realistically, how long can you continue to build mass naturally? I'm turning 30 soon.
Well, I hate to be the guy that says it depends, but
it does.
It depends on how hard he's been going and how much mass he's already built. So I think that like a massive percentage of your foundation can be built naturally. Like a lot of muscle can be put on naturally. So, you know, it depends on how hard he's been eating. If he's been going hard, like fucking all out, you know, eating and training for 20 years, then, or 10 years or 15 years, then he's, you know, maybe tapped out. But if he's just like recreationally lifting and he wants to get serious, there's still lots of room. Lots of room. You know, you can add a heap of muscle in your 30s. Fucking tons of muscle. Pro bodybuilders add muscle in their 30s. So a regular Joe can fucking...
I don't think that most people realize...
your body will change if you load it.
How much gas is left in the tank or tricks in the bag between their training intensity, their sleeping, their eating, their organization of all of the above. I mean, we've talked about this before. Like my greatest gains of muscle tissue, and I know Ron's were the same, it wasn't when I got the heaviest. It's when I was the most psychotically perfect. And that's something that Dante pushes all the time with guys. Is you need to set your off season up in a way that you can grow clean or like on TRT. Because if the moment you can see you are absolutely improving while on TRT or clean, then you know what's going to happen when you add the gas. But the problem is in reverse, if you just throw drugs at it, they hide mistakes. So you might not be gaining at all based on what you were doing, but then you throw drugs in and you're growing. So like, oh, everything's perfect. You know what I mean? So it's absolutely something I pushed on people. I've got a few new guys now, and one of the first things I like to do with people is see them train. And I am stunned when someone sends me training. I go, oh, fuck, that's perfect. Very, very rare. The first couple rounds are really, really good. So a guy like that, my first answer is I assume a lot because I could pretty much guess that your training is not perfect, and I pretty much guess your diet isn't perfect. We fix those two things, then give you time. There's your muscle.
Right. I agree. Okay. How long should a cycle be, and how long is too long?
Scott, you got to jump first for once. You've been quiet today.
I'm just trying to let you guys, do your thing.
The show was nothing before we brought you on. We've been told this many times. We were fucking hobbling along. And then you came in like Superman and saved this shit. I felt like you're Trump coming in to save us.
With your guns.
So, okay. I got some thought. Wait, what was the question again? I forgot the question now.
I derailed him too far.
I totally did.
How long should a cycle be?
Oh, yeah.
And how long is too long?
Too long is when you're starting to get health issues or you're not making progress anymore. But if you were to say, like I think back in the day, we used to say like 10 to 12 weeks. But if you're at 12 weeks and you were to say, hey, I'm going to get some lab work, see where I'm at, and you're still making progress, then it's not too long. I've known guys to run cycles past 20 weeks and do well with them. I think it comes down to, what are the benefits you're getting from it? versus what are the costs of it. You know, early on that first, we'll say first 6 weeks of a cycle, first 8 weeks of a cycle, that benefit is probably going to be really high. And over time, maybe it's going to start reducing, but where is that line? It's probably going to be different depending on variables, depending on you, depending on your training, depending on your nutrition, depending on the cycle. You know, how far along are you in? Yeah, I don't know. It'd be individual, but I can say that anywhere from 6 weeks to 24 weeks would be my length of a cycle.
Okay. That was a good answer. You got a lot of podcasts under your belt discussing this stuff.
That's what we do.
No, I was going to say, I couldn't even add to that because I agree. My only addition is what Chris Cito always said, which is there's no rules in bodybuilding.
Yeah.
So make your decisions based on what's working or what's not working. Because I've also had cycles where at 10 weeks, I'm like, we're done here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, nope, nothing's really happening. I'm not seeing anything that tells me I need to keep going down this path. I'm out.
Or you're having problems of some kind, like your shoulder's really fucking bugging you, and you're like, it's just a waste of my fucking time. You just, you gotta like, sometimes the best move is to just terminate early, you know?
Yep.
You know, I had a guy start a cycle, he got like 5 weeks in, everything's going good, and then like massive, huge, massive life change. So he's like, okay, what do I do? And I was like, let's just go back to cruise for a while, get everything sorted out, get the stress gone, So yes, sometimes because there's no show looming, so it's no big deal, right? He could just like be smart and not waste time.
Yeah.
So no, that's good. It says my guitar's out for delivery.
Ooh.
I'm hoping it shows up.
Finally.
Chris tried calling me.
Did he?
I couldn't. He tried calling me. I didn't want to ambush him.
Yeah,
Hey,
I can get that. I get that.
You're on live.
We don't tell him. He finds out later when his wife's watching the show because we know lots of women watch us now. Boom.
Yes. There you go.
If we could get him back on, that would be
How
good.
long of a cycle?
Yeah.
I always used to say 6 to 16 weeks.
Yeah.
Was just my rule. Do you guys remember? The British guys are gonna fucking laugh at this. Do you guys remember that Paul Borenson?
Yeah.
Borenson.
Yeah, I didn't know him, but Dave Crossland talks about him. He was kind of crazy with the dosing, wasn't he?
Yeah. I remember that was like a phase around like the 2000 era, like the new millennium phase. There was like front loading the fuck out of a cycle and then keeping it shorter.
Yeah.
Right.
So he would be like, okay, well, what's long acting? You'd think, okay, Sustanon.
Yeah.
Right. That one test ester has like, it's there for like 28 days,
Yeah.
So he would take like 5,000 megs of Sustanon in the first week.
Yeah.
Right. And then and then you'd be literally done the Sustanon, and that would just run to where, and then whatever the half-life, expiration of the Sustanon is, that's the end of the cycle, and all the other stuff comes down as well. That's how he would structure his stuff, but it was like huge front loaded.
Yeah.
And then it might just be like 100 megs of prop every third day for the rest of the cycle.
Yeah, so the total taken in the however long the cycle is wasn't that absurd necessarily. It just seemed like it.
But it was still pretty high doses, but like the front load was crazy. But I remember everyone was trying it for a while because they're like, oh, it makes sense. You're all fresh. And then you just slam in all this fucking gear.
Yeah.
Right. So everyone's like, it makes sense. Oh, it makes fucking sense.
Bodybuilders are always trying to find ways to make things make sense that they want
Scientifically,
to do.
he's on to something, right?
Yeah. Really, they just want to find a way to take 5 grams of test at once and be okay with it.
So I remember, I think we all tried some front loading.
Oh, yeah.
Like some hardcore front loading back in the day.
A lot of test flu in that phase for me.
A lot of test flu. A little rough.
You know what's weird? And it's still at this point. I just never really, I guess the drugs didn't excite me. So it's not that I didn't use them. I just didn't care how to take them. So even now, I get questions and people ask oh, when's the most important time? And my true answer was always I would just make sure I took them when I didn't forget.
Yeah.
I
never cared when I took growth or this. I'm like, I just get it in. Fuck, it's fine.
I had a friend of mine. I'd be over at his house and he'd be like, it's shot day, it's shot day. And he'd like sing a little song and he'd like open up his kit, shot day. He's like all happy about it being shot day.
Yeah.
And I was like, I barely remember shot day. He's got like
usually you remember 3 days after. Like, fuck.
I'm like,
shot day was Monday and it's Thursday.
Yeah. It's like I remember Lee Priest talking about how him and Paul Dillett lived together.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And like he said he would load up a syringe, like, and then like Paul would load up a syringe and then like leave it on the table and it would sit there for like 4 days. And Lee would be like, "Are you going to take this?" He's like, "Yeah, I should probably take that." Like,
it's been here since like third.
Loaded syringes. Because I guess he'd preload a few at a time, but then they'd just wind up laying around. And he's like, I don't know how he got so fucking big. He fucking hardly took any shots.
Funny. We also got shredded and hardly did any cardio, so there is what it is.
Yeah. Okay, no,
you got a finisher. We need like a finisher one. Solid.
We got a little ways. Okay. Well, here's one. What's your proudest moment, bodybuilding or not? Yikes.
Ooh. Scott, I expect a phenomenal answer out of you. No pressure.
I can't go first. I got to think.
All right.
Proudest moment. God. I don't know.
Proudest moment.
I don't know.
It's a tricky word.
Yeah.
Is the reason.
Yeah.
Because like things that I think are really cool for me, when I think of proud, I think of like most people compare that to like a public thing.
Like where it might be like awesome. Might be like
personally proud. Buying my mom's truck was that, but the reason was actually just because I was giving all of her money back. I think that's one thing that's kind of a funny process. Like a lot of people are like, oh, it's so awesome. And I'm kind of like, yeah, I still owe about 150K. If you're talking about that, but that was something that I just thought was cool to do. It definitely hit me more than the 20 cars I bought myself. But yeah, so I guess that would be it. I mean, there's not a lot I've done that I feel is everything is kind of a stepping stone in my mind. We were actually talking about that today. Like as soon as I hit something, I'm already, before I hit it, usually I'm starting to think about the next step in that thing. So it's hard to be like, oh, I'm so proud of that.
Yeah.
Once you have it, you're like, oh, that's done. I mean, you've done some cool shit, but it's like, anyways. Until I'm pulling Elon Musk's, it's just not that impressive.
Yeah, it's interesting because like you don't want to I don't know. Like you said, it's not any of the things I've done really for myself. Probably something to do with the gym. I don't know.
You've got a fucking cool gym. Like what you guys have put together there.
Probably something to do with that. Like, maybe it has to do with like, getting through COVID and all the stuff that came with that and all the turmoil and how crazy stressful it was for everybody, including the members. And when members come up to you and thank you for not, well, they're not just thanking you, but they're also like, I'm so glad you survived the process. Cause there's like lots of gyms that didn't.
Yeah.
And there's also there's a bunch of gyms that have closed lately. It's like they made it through, but there was no momentum left at all.
Yeah.
So they were like, they made it through, but they were stuck in the mud and it just, so we're feeling, how we're feeling the effects now. Yeah. Big surprise.
Yeah.
Who would have seen that coming?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
I think
we're just really fortunate.
One too.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm pretty proud
because that
of that
survived as well. I mean, you had a 2-year gap where you didn't do it.
Yeah.
And as soon as it was time, like think about television shows. If they disappeared for 2 years, how many people wouldn't give a shit if they ever came back? It's over.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So that's something. I mean, as an I shouldn't say outsider, but someone who's not involved in it, I think that's a pretty successful thing because that was not a lot of people know, Scott, but that was 100% Ron's idea all the way down to the name.
Was it really?
Yeah. So it's like
I remember when it came together.
That's by far the biggest show we've had consistently.
Kidding. Yeah, I'm really happy about that. So yeah, I don't know. And then just also too, you know, I always, for some reason, was proud that I never, like, you know, I left home when I was 19 and I never took any money from my parents after that. Like I left home.
Yeah.
Like I left home and I was like, see ya. And I was, you know, I always told my dad, like, you know, I'll be fine, you know, that sort of thing. So I was always proud of that. And now that my dad's, you know, 83, just had his 83rd birthday, and, you know, he's obviously happy. Everything's turned out good and all that stuff. So I'm pretty proud of that, you know?
Yeah.
So
I can't think. I mean, I could say a lot of stuff, but I'm gonna share one moment, and it was at McDonald's. Actually, I was. You know how they have at some McDonald's, they have like the two drive-through microphones. There's a lot of stress in picking which one you're going to go to sometimes at those. I haven't been to McDonald's in a long time though. Like I stopped at about the time of COVID. Like I just stopped, like, cause it's all messed up and I don't need it anyway. But anyway,
right.
I was at McDonald's and I pulled up to one of the microphones and there was somebody at the other microphone, and I placed my order and I was done. So I pulled forward, and the lady was she was like an older lady, like 50, with her husband in the passenger seat. And she got very upset because she was there first, but she didn't finish her order. So she finished her order and she wanted to get in and, you know, and so there's that, like, my worst nightmare is this confrontation. Who's going to go first now? And she starts honking her horn at me. I'm already in position, like, I'm going first because I was already here. And she starts honking her horn at me, and it becomes like this big thing. So I rolled down my window.
This is amazing already.
And I was ready to yell something, you know, obscene. But instead, I looked at her husband and I said, you know what, sir? I'm really sorry that you have to go home with her every day. Something like that. And he busted out laughing. The lady was like red in the face. And she's like screaming at me at the top of her lungs. I didn't even look at her. I looked at the husband. I was like, you know what? I'm really sorry, sir, that you have to go home with her. And he just busted out laughing. Like it was the best moment of my life.
Defused the situation right there.
And then I just pulled forward.
I thought,
I love that this is the proudest moment of his life.
I was figured. I thought you were going to tell him when you said you looked at him. I thought you were going to tell him, "Shut your bitch up."
I kind of did.
I think that is what he said. Actually, you just didn't hear it. It's an American way of saying
nicer way. It was a little more hospitality way of saying it.
Oh,
but yeah, he died. Like he just started laughing so hard.
I'm really sorry, sir, that you have to go home with her.
And then she was really pissed because he was laughing. By the way,
how was the ride home? How was the ride home?
I guarantee you, he did not get a sweet and sour sauce. He had to eat them without.
Yeah, it might not be the proudest moment, but it was one worth sharing, you know, on the podcast.
Well, it was the best story, that's for damn sure.
Oh man, that was pretty good. There's nothing
Very
like a good roast that like silences everyone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
What do you say to that? Nothing.
Well, it panned out too because he was on my side. You know, he was like, "Yeah, I got to deal with this shit every fucking day."
You have no idea. No idea. That's amazing.
Oh man. Okay, we gotta do one more.
All right, I don't have a great one.
Okay. Here's one.
All right.
We've talked about this in some form many times.
Okay.
But what does a beginner need to know about competing in a bodybuilding contest? Is there any philosophical nugget you can drop on them as a beginner? Anything that they'll think, wow,
it's going to cost you. It's going to cost you a lot more than you think.
Changing. It's going to cost you a lot more than you think.
And I'm not just talking money.
Yeah. Sign
From this
here
day forward,
in blood.
You're technically a criminal.
Yeah.
Oh shit. Let's think. Let me think for real.
Once you've had high
guitar.
test, once you've had high test, you can never see the world through normal lenses again.
Be careful, sevens become tens.
Yes. Make sure your judgment is very sound before.
Ask a friend that is not on if she's as hot as you think she is.
Yes, have a non-bodybuilding friend filter to help you out with any sex drive related questionable situations. Yes. Right? You need a friend who has like a normal situation going on in his brain to kind of help you through
this process for sure. Yeah.
Hey, should I bang this chick? No, that's a terrible idea.
No,
terrible idea. No, red flag. You go through the Instagram, all the red flags.
Oh God. Yeah. No, I mean, the answer that we've given a million times that's actually accurate is you're not as big as you think you are, and you're fatter than you think you are.
Yeah. I think things. I think if I was going to throw something at it, it would be that I don't think that you should do this unless you are absolutely in love with the training. I think that, like, I just see it all the time, that people that go down this road and they don't really love the training. It's like maybe something they do as a distraction from their, other issues, or they just use it for fitness, or it's really good that they're training. I mean, it's really good for you to train and do cardio and all that stuff. So sometimes they're like, hey, my old life was way worse, and this is the healthiest option that I can be obsessed with.
Yeah,
that's cool.
I've seen that.
That's cool. Like, I get that. Like, all sorts of things. I mean, we've all talked about like addiction issues and food issues and all types of backgrounds people come from. So sometimes it is actually a much better option. Than, maybe the situation they were in or whatever. But I think for like someone who's actually like, hey, like, I think I want to like try to go pro or really take this seriously, or I think I can win shows, I think I've got what it takes. You might have what it takes genetically. You might have what it takes mentally and all that stuff. But I guarantee you, Chris Bumstead loves to fucking train.
Yeah.
Right? Phil Heath loves to fucking train. Like, these guys are athlete minded. If they're not doing one thing, they're fucking doing another for sure. If Chris wasn't allowed to bodybuild anymore, you think he's going to sit on the couch? No.
Yeah, fuck no. No way.
He's going to be
another thing to obsessively do.
He'll be fucking doing something crazy and athletic, physical. Maybe he turns into a fucking hiking machine or something. I don't know.
Cade Zook put up a story this weekend. It was pretty funny. He said, I'm cliff noting it backwards, but he said, when I was coming up, I wanted to train like the guys I used to watch that were, that I idolized. He said, now when people want to be like Chris Bumstead, they don't train like him, they dress like him, and then they go to the gym.
Right.
Well, fucking
and it was
sad.
Super. I read it and I was like, God, it's accurate, because I feel like doing a show, to bring this back in, has become an image thing more than what you want to do. Like, when I wanted to compete, I knew like two people that had ever competed. And during the process, when I realized I actually didn't like competing, but I loved prepping for shows.
Right.
All the things that people complain about. And I used to say this, Ron knows this, and I'm gonna pull a Scott and full name him. When Gabe Moen was with us with Mutant and he would prep for a show, he used to bitch about the prep and how he couldn't wait for it to be over. And I always thought to myself, well, then why the fuck are you doing this?
Yeah.
Because if you don't love the prep, it ain't worth it. Like,
right.
I liked doing the prep. I liked going to I liked all of those things that made prep hard is what I enjoyed the most. And I think when you talk to most people who truly love bodybuilding, they feel the same way. I don't think Chris Bumstead gets more out of a prep than I do, and I'm never winning shit, and he's going to win everything he ever does until he decides to stop.
Yeah.
So there's some guys that I've met that they love to train and they look incredible big and all that stuff, but they don't love to compete. And I think it's great when they recognize that early and they don't waste a lot of their time and energy and you know what I mean? And they just bodybuild and be big, and there's training, but there's training and competing. I guess you could separate the two, but if the question is bodybuilding, competing, then you've got to love the grind,
Agreed.
The athlete mindset.
I'd say on the small, like the lower level first show, that one thing I think I've seen guys run into, or like the light bulb that turns on once they actually get to the show, that whatever muscle you have going into this is great, but what we really need to do is get you lean. Because you'll see guys that are like, hey, I don't want to lose too much size. They want to compromise almost. And once you get to the first show, then you realize, oh, I just need to get as fucking peeled as I absolutely can. And, obviously the more muscle you have with that, the better. But if you're not peeled, you don't have anything,
Yeah.
True.
Yeah. Just get lean. Okay. Is that it? Is that another episode? That was at least an hour, wasn't it? That was good.
It was good. It was good.
That was good. Okay. Remember, everybody, like, share, subscribe, comment,
and ring the bell.
Hey,
that's right.
No guitar. Still no guitar.
No, it didn't get delivered yet, but hopefully I get it today. But yeah, I'll send you I'll send you some pictures, Scott.
Yes, please do.
There we go.
Okay. Thanks, everybody, and remember, it's just bodybuilding.
Adios, guys.
All right.
I gotta piss.
See you guys.